style.
It's time to get the breakdown started. 1, 2, 3, First up, 10 observations.
Mr. Good guy and just boom, put him right on the ground.
It's First and 10.
Number one, the largest takeaway from that game is that this 30-23 loss for the Commanders. A good performance by a good team that got beat by a very good performance by an excellent team. The Baltimore Ravens are really good. More on that later. But when soup to nuts, when push comes to shove, whatever the analogy is, the game comes down to a few key plays, specifically third downs on defense for Washington, where their better receivers, as in Zay Flowers, beat Washington's average in Benjamin St-Juste's case, or emerging corners like Mike Sainristil. And that also is enhanced by the fact on two of those key, and I'm talking very key third downs. One is the play before a touchdown, and the other is when they needed to stop late. They come on PIs on St-Juste that are bad calls. The one in the red zone, not a good call. I understand why they called it if the ref has a bad angle, but realistically, that wasn't enough for a PI. And the second one where the dude just falls down, it's like, yeah, St-Juste's hands were on him as he went down because he was tripping over his own feet, falling into St-Juste's knees. It's not Benjamin's job to get out of the way when the dude trips over the ground. Like, it's a ridiculous call. And so, ultimately, if you're telling me that's the difference in the game is a couple of key stops, some of which Washington obviously needs to play better at, but also Baltimore puts you in really tough spots. They put you in tough spots with how much grass you have to defend because of Lamar's ability to run, Lamar's ability to throw to all areas of the field, Derrick Henry, some of the very specific things that they, and I'm talking only they can do, like some of the runs that they get you in a condensed formation. Everyone's super tight to the line of scrimmage. It feels like there's, 20 guys in between the numbers. And then they run to the edge, and it's a foot race. And even if you get there at the same time they do, one dude you're trying to bring down is Derrick Henry, and the other guy that you're racing is Patrick Ricard, a 300-pound fullback who runs, faster than the linebackers, faster, like a DB. Like, he's out there and he's killing people so they can get to the edge without having anybody out there to block when they say set hut. Like, the kind of stuff that they can do in the run game is literally only Baltimore can do that. And it's because of Lamar. It's because of Ricard. Daniel Falalele is a 6'8", 380-pound right guard. And there are some one-on-one blocks that he's able to stick because he's 6'8", 380 that there ain't a lot of guards in the league that can do. It just allows you to do certain stuff. Like, there is a play where Fedarian Mathis, Big Phil, 350 pounds, like, he does a good job to stand Falalele up, but he can't get anywhere. The dude he's trying to get around has got an angle on him, and he's 6'8", 680. Or, sorry, 6'8", 680 would be a big, that's a big dude. 6'8", 380. Like, sometimes you get beat by better dudes. And Baltimore's got better dudes. And if I had told you that they were going to be competitive, in this game in the middle of June, I think people would be pretty psyched about it. And realistically, they were competitive. They needed to stop at the end. They couldn't get it. The Commanders certainly do not play perfectly. They're not above reproach. We're going to get into a lot more detail over the next couple of days on things they could have done better, certain coverage decisions. I think Joe Witt's got some stuff he's going to want back. Cliff, Jayden, receivers, running backs, O-line, D-line, everybody. But over the course of that game, there wasn't a lot of separation between those two teams, as evidenced by the fact that it ultimately was a 30-23 one-score game. Sorry, that one score was 7 instead of 6 or 3. If perhaps you were invested in this one more than emotionally, that 6.5 line, that one hurt. But they legitimately competed with the Baltimore Ravens, and the difference at the end of the day was talent. They weren't going to fix that going into Sunday, but they will learn from it and fix it more so going forward. And I think that is genuinely exciting. So, biggest takeaway, they lost to a better team, and they competed with them. That ain't bad.
Number 2.
And the reason that ain't bad, and the reason that's actually really encouraging, is because the reason why they were able to do that, and that is their quarterback. If Jayden Daniels is playing, the Washington Commanders have a chance to win. It does not matter the team that they are playing against. You haven't been able to say that about any quarterback with this franchise forever. Like, maybe since Sonny was playing, with all due respect to, like, Theismann and Rippon and Doug and, Kirk, Robert at the best that they were playing. So much of the success that this team has had in its franchise history, including its Super Bowls, was they had a tremendous roster depth all around. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot right with that. 3 Super Bowl trophies, to be in fact. But the Hogs, some of the guys they had on defense, obviously, D Green's number going up into the rafters this weekend. He was around for all of that. So there's just so many great players in this franchise's history, and so few of them, for sustained success purposes, are quarterbacks. And I guess Robert in 2012, for sure, there was a part of that, but also Alfred Morris and that O-line were great. That defense was hitting people with, Fletch in the middle and some of the guys they had spread throughout. Obviously, Kirk had an unbelievable run at the end of 2015 on the way to the division title, but never have they had a guy like this. And at least, certainly since I've been covering the team, and I would say going all the way back, I don't know enough about what this team looked like in Sonny's era, but I know Sonny's in the Hall of Fame, so I'm gonna say probably Sonny counts. But anytime you're talking about Washington quarterbacks and you say, well, it's the first time since Sonny Jurgensen, you get the freaking point. Yesterday was yet another step in his growth because of the things he didn't have going for him and the way he was able to overcome them. On 11 called runs yesterday by their running backs, 2 were successful. Success defined by success rate, the NFL stat that I don't know whether it's their stat or whoever keeps it, but you got to get 5 yards on first down, half the distance on second down. So if it's 2nd and 8, you have to get at least 4. Third down, whatever you need to get the first down. Those are considered successful plays. On 2 of 11 runs, they were successful. And by success rate, Jayden Daniels was 50% on his dropbacks. So they have no running game. He himself is not successful yesterday as a runner, and he still is over 50% success rate, getting the job done on what he needs to do on over 50% of his snaps against a defense that was really good. And by the way, that 50% includes quote-unquote unsuccessful dropbacks, such as some checkdowns that were against free blitzers, and Baltimore makes good tackles in space, but it's the right decision. He did what he needed to do. There is the dirt ball to Austin Eckler, which is 100% the correct decision in the 2-minute. That's on the unsuccessful side of things because that's how the stat works, but he still was able to, that is the correct play. That is going to grade out way better than 50%. He has that 50% success rate, including some monster plays to Terry McLaurin, even though Terry has only 1.6 average yards of separation, according to Next Gen Stats. He was like, it's Terry. I know I'm supposed to throw here. I'm going to do it anyway. And Terry made a whole bunch of plays. It included throws at all 3 levels of the defense. No huge deep shots, 50-yard bombs yesterday, but he had 1 or 2 deeper to stretch the defense a little bit. He had 1 bigger completion. He was over the middle of the field more yesterday, 7 of 9 over the middle of the field, according to Next Gen Stats. So there's just continued growth from him as a passer, and as teams ask him to do different stuff. And not every team, by the way, is going to be able to do what Baltimore did to them in terms of shutting down the run, having the speed and the players and the know-how to shut Jayden down as a runner, the discipline to lock him in terms of the rush lanes from escaping as a scrambler. Not everybody can do that. And in fact, most teams are not going to be able to do that. And he still found ways to be good. He still found ways to get them competitive. And ask yourself this question. If they had been able to get a stop at the end of that game, and Jayden gets the ball back, do you think that game goes to overtime? Whether it does or not is kind of irrelevant. The fact that you just went, yes, I do, because I believe in that guy's ability to make plays that much, is the point. When was the last time you felt like that? If you're a Washington football fan, some of you, it's never, depending on how old you are. Simply put, Jayden Daniels is a top 10 NFL quarterback right now, based off of everything that he's done this season and the trajectory that he's on. Again, will it be smooth always? Has he figured the NFL out to the point that he's never going to have a bad game in his entire career? Of course not. That would be ridiculous. However, top 10 quarterbacks have bad games, and I wouldn't take 10 dudes. I don't know, if we're going futures contracts, I don't know I'm taking 5 dudes. I don't know how many dudes I'm taking over this guy right now. He is that good.
number 3.
With that said, one of the dudes that I would take over him right now for this season, I don't know about moving forward, but certainly for this season, plays on the other side. Lamar Jackson is so freaking good that he is a 2-time MVP, widely considered one of the best in the league, and I think he might still be underrated. Part of that is he's had some bad games / rough moments in playoffs, and that matters. You know, when you go against Patrick Mahomes and he beats you, like, everyone's like, that guy's, how good is he? It's like, well, Mahomes is on the potential GOAT track. So, like, not being as good as Patrick Mahomes doesn't mean that you're not awesome. Lamar not only is so gifted physically, and some of the throws he makes yesterday, from off-platform stuff to the way he leads his receivers, some of those Zay Flowers catches are because Lamar has perfect ball placement and he leads him. A lot of quarterbacks make that receiver slow down a little bit, and if he slows down, like BSJ and Sainer Still and Igbenogany, like, they can make plays. It's because, you know, Lamar puts the ball out in front, and Zay Flowers doesn't even have to slow down, so he's able to maintain the separation that he earned at the top of his route. There's so much of that stuff, but also I think one of the differences right now between Lamar and Jayden, and this gap is going to close tremendously because Jayden just doesn't have the file that Lamar has. Lamar got them in so many good plays. Logan talked about it on our Take Command postgame last night. Lamar's ability to check into the right play, especially considering some of the looks that they get routinely because of the way they line up and the formations. Like, Todd Monken's really, really good at his job, Baltimore's OC. So many of their big plays were ones that he checked into. And that mental game, Jayden does it actually really well, like ridiculously well as a rookie. But to be able to do it snap in, snap out with the consistency Lamar does is just a different level. And especially when you're as good post-snap as he is. He is super duper special. And then he's surrounded by a bunch of other guys that are really good. Zay Flowers is an excellent player. Excellent player. Some of their linemen, you know, Ricard is such a weapon for them as a fullback. Obviously, Derrick Henry is just a marvel of a running back in 2024. I don't think he's going to wind up being the last Hall of Fame running back, but he might be the last one for a while. Like, there'll be someone that emerges, but like, let's realize how rare Derrick Henry is as a weapon in the modern NFL game, and the fact that he is worth giving the ball to the way that they give it to him. So ultimately, like, Baltimore is really good. In fact, Baltimore is a great team, and they are playing really well. Their O-line has come together, and to say anything else about the Commanders, which of course we'll have 6 more bullet points coming up next about Washington, but to go any further talking about this game without the context of just how good Baltimore is to not give it to you straight. And I realize on Misery Monday after a loss, you might just want to hear everybody sucks and someone needs to get fired. That's not this show. This show is going to try to give you the reality of the context of what just happened. And the reality is the Washington Commanders lost to a team that has built up a tremendous side over the course of years, from an identity, a talent, and everything. And they played a really good game that not many teams in the league could compete with, which Washington did nevertheless beat yesterday.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.